All right, everyone, welcome back to the Land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. Now, today's episode is an absolute banger, and I will take you along with me to investigate, up close, a mysterious artifact that has been on my ancient site must-see list for almost 10 years, and I could hardly believe what I was seeing when we finally reached the inner sanctum of the Shinto shrine that houses this immense, bizarre megalith. This is Sunday Site Visit 81, the Ishi no Hoden, floating stone. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, this is the channel for you. So please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned if you want to help support this channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage that you will not see anywhere else. Check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch. Links in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to Let's Go with Lex and G so you don't miss out on the rest of the amazing content from our Japan adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. Just a quick reminder to all of the subscribers on the members only channel, episode 16 is now available with the spectacular footage from 4 different site visits, including the investigation of the Kamaishi and Ubenezawa stone circle structures, an examination of the pyramid structure at Mount Goyo, and the fascinating research and revelations from Mount Kurama and the mysterious character known as the Tengu. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I hope you enjoy Sunday Site Visit 81, the Ishi no Hoden, floating stone. All right, everyone, welcome back to part 3 of our Bizarre Megaliths of Japan series. And before I do the big reveal, we're just going to walk up this little stone staircase. I'm not sure where this takes us, but we're here at a beautiful shrine site that houses probably the strangest megalith. I don't know, the Masuda Iwafune, that was pretty wild. And I guess this just goes up to the top, but oh yeah, you can see it from up here. Cool. Like this little, we'll look at it from above and then we'll get down there close. It's over here. Holy crap. All right, so that's even more impressive than the other one. This thing is wild. All right, we'll go ahead and show it to you now. There's a quarry mountain over here. And look at this. The Ishi no Hoden, otherwise known as the floating stone. This thing is huge. Probably looks to be about the same size as the Masuda Iwafune megalith. And just wait until you see this thing from the bottom. And I have some questions already that I'm asking myself about this stone.
and we're gonna get up close in person in just a minute. We were just waiting for another group to finish up. So this one is a fully dressed and cut stone, and it looks to be excavated. Again, one of the questions for the curator, it looks like this stone was excavated from this housing here.
Yeah, directly.
Directly from this. I think this is granite, but we'll also confirm the composition of the stone. But yeah, you can see this horseshoe shaped depression here, and it looks like this stone was quarried directly from this housing. Look at that, and you can see the hi. Konnichiwa. Hi, arigatou gozaimasu. Arigatou. You can see the people down there, the scale of the people, like here, compared to the size of this thing. Absolutely crazy.
And you see that quarry on the background?
Yeah, it's a really, really spectacular sight here.
Yeah.
You want to go down?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, so a couple unusual things I'll point out from this vantage point. So you can see this protrusion here on the backside. You can see this vertical slot here. And then there's another feature on the bottom that I'll show you in just a moment. And the whole thing is sitting in a pool of water down here. Yeah, so let's get on down there. I gotta check this thing out.
Should we go along?
Up close. Yeah, we'll walk around. So we came up this way. Pretty much just takes you up here to this viewing vantage point. Konnichiwa. Oh, see, yeah, that's another little viewing point at the top of the hill. I think it's just a viewpoint. You can see here from the other side the same vertical slot going down this side. This is a bit better of a vantage because it's not in the shade, so you can really see the pointed feature here.
Oh, and also the water.
Yeah, the water, yeah. All right, so I want to stick my head down in this thing, take a look, see about what's underneath this thing, because they call it the floating stone because it looks like it's just floating on the surface of the water. There's my wife Alexa from Ancient Odysseys.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. All right, so now that this group has cleared out, we will enter the shrine. Here you can see that same Shide. There's a huge one here on the outside of the temple. We've already discussed the significance and symbolism here as related to the cumulonimbus thunderstorm cloud, lightning, rain, and agriculture. There's another smaller version here on the inner temple. All right, she's coming. Ooh. Oh yeah, you can walk around. Awesome. Oh, this is like being in the Osireion, where they had these little tiny boards to walk across. It would certainly kind of put a damper on the day if you fell in the water. All right, and you can see from here that this thing is still anchored into the ground. The bedrock of granite. Yeah, it definitely is granite, by the way. It is anchored into the granite bedrock below. Holy shit. Look at that. All right, so I want to give you a size comparison of my hand here in comparison to the size of just this little wedge. So my hand is like this little tiny corner here. So remember that. I'll pan back. So my hand is like this tiny little area here. You can see this rope wrapping around also has that same symbolic representation. And most of the unusual megaliths, like at the Tanaisan shrine, the Arahabaki megalith, Arahabaki being this plasma deity associated with Venus. That huge megalith is also surrounded by the twisted rope, symbolizing the cumulonimbus thunderstorm cloud and the lightning Shide symbols. This thing is crazy looking. And they don't have a good explanation for what these stones are. There is some connection between the Masuda Iwafune and here at the Ishi no Hoden. Actually, this might not be granite. This might be tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
That's what
Okay. So correction, it's not granite. It's tough, volcanic tuff. And here you can see the megalith still sitting on top of a foundation of bedrock here.
Is this all tough too?
I don't know. I mean, it looks like granite. So we'll have to get Taro to read the sign, and we'll get some more information. Of course, all this is in Japanese. Hey, what's up there? Just
There's a hilltop.
oh, okay.
And there is a quarry on the back side as well.
Interesting.
And it's like a whole mountain is a stone, this one.
Yeah.
It's all exposed.
So Ishi no Hoden is the stone in front of us. The Masuda Iwafune was the stone that you saw in the previous part of this series, presenting the bizarre megaliths of Japan. Masuda Iwafune is granite. This one, can you do some translation?
Yep.
On the signpost here?
Okay.
We're just going to confirm the geology. It looks like this part here looks like tuff.
Okay.
But just standing here, if you don't put your head underneath here, it does look like this thing is just floating, suspended on top of the water, which is a really cool effect for a stone of this crazy size. So the questions being, what are these vertical slots? on both sides. They have these vertical slot sort of housings. Again here, try not to fall in the water. This vertical slot here. There is a similar vertical, well, it's not vertical because it's on the top of the other one, but there's a slot on the top of the Masuda Iwafude. Okay, megalith. We now have some interpretation of the guidepost. So this stone is tough, and it's approximately 465 tons. In comparison to the Masuda Iwafune stone, which is about the same size, but it's made of granite, and that is estimated at a whopping 800 tons. So there's a huge difference in the weight of the stone, you know, directly resulting from the density of the material. Tough is a very hard stone, but it's much easier to carve than granite. And Teru, do they have a hypothetical date on this stone?
Not exact, but they have a guess because there is a old history like a scroll.
Yeah.
Talks about this thing back in like 8th century.
8th century.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily when it was carved. It was already here.
It says it was there already.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we found that in a few areas where these stones and sites are being referenced in these two books, which are kind of the first official histories of Japan. But their references as already being there. I'm just showing you the quarry walls here. I think this is really cool how this was excavated directly from the bedrock. And you also see that in, I forget the name of the temple, but there's also a temple that's been excavated top down from the bedrock in a similar manner. Not here in Japan, I believe it's in India.
Yeah, that's in India.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's a similar quarrying style where you just start with a huge mound of bedrock and you just slowly excavate down, removing the material in a very precise manner. And when you're done, you're left with this spectacular centerpiece. In this case, a huge, very strangely carved megalith. In the Indian case, a temple.
Yeah, but that Indian cave, I think stone's much harder. I think that one's like...
I believe it's also volcanic stone, though. This is wild. Now, let's see if I can get a good shot from underneath here. Huh. So it looks like the stone, it's not actually connected to the bedrock. They actually fully cut this thing out. You see that? I was expecting the stone, so this is bedrock down at the bottom here, and then this is the stone. I was expecting this to be seamless, but it's not. It looks like it's it was fully cut out of the bedrock. Well, let me go look at this diagram here. Now that makes it even more unusual.
There is a diagram of how the stone sits on that side.
Yeah.
Left bottom.
Yeah, here you can see the seam too. There's a seam. So the bedrock is down here. There's a seam, and then the stone is sitting on top of the bedrock, which means...
But I think it's still connected, I think, the middle, no?
I don't think so. So you can look at this diagram here. It shows bedrock here, and it's been fully cut out of the bedrock and then sat down on top of this thing.
Yeah, kind of sitting on it.
So that means at some point this thing was suspended in the air and then it sat down. So I was expecting, again, to kind of reiterate what I was just explaining. I thought they just excavated this material around here and left a fully intact pedestal of bedrock here. But it's not. It's been fully cut out and then sat down on top of this piece. So at some point, 465 tons of rock was lowered down and set into place on the foundation where it currently sits. Now that makes it even more interesting. This also kind of reminds me of the site that we saw yesterday, the Shatra Pagoda that was carved out of the bedrock and just sitting in the center. It's a similar concept. You'll see that. I'm not sure if you've seen it yet or if it's going to come up later in the series, but this thing is wild. So it would have been a less impressive undertaking if they had left a complete pedestal of bedrock. That means they never had to move this block, but it was sat down into place, which is pretty mind-blowing. 465 tons.
Okay, so the academic view of whether or not this megalith is already separated from the bedrock, it says it's still intact.
Still intact.
Yeah, yeah. But they were in the process and then stopped. That's why we have this, floating like.
Okay.
Rock.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's still intact.
Okay.
But you will see this kind of like almost when you see now,
yeah,
because the layer of the stone differs, so you think like it's sitting on top, right? But the Baalbek, that the big megalith, unfinished megalith in Lebanon in Baalbek,
yeah,
has the same, difference in color. And maybe they are purposely starting from that line, of the different layers.
So I don't know about that, because if you were just coring, right? So if you were going to still be coring, so these lines here are coring marks where they were digging this part out to excavate this area. And if they were just going to eventually pop this stone out, that seam wouldn't be there, because they would just keep coring this. I don't think they would create a seam all the way around the inside of it. As you can see, the seam goes all the way around. They would just continue this quarrying in here until the stone, putting logs or whatever they were going to do.
If they were really trying to move the thing from here,
yeah,
like what they would do, like in the Baalbek way, was they will cut this deeper and then go this way and then start piling soil to lift, right? So, but it stopped there. That means they haven't fully gone in. I see the slits, but I'm sure it doesn't go across to the other side. You don't see the lights, right?
Well, let's see here. So there's actually smaller stones wedged in here. So you can see that this thing is completely separated.
You sure?
And this, I mean, there's a small stone right here that's wedged. Looks like it's in between the bedrock and the stone, but this stone is separate. You can see and there's like small pebbles and stuff in there. Yeah, no, I think this thing is completely cut out.
I'll ask the people here to
see
what they have to say.
So inconclusive.
Inconclusive. So what do you think of this thing?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna say. Okay, so think of it from a conventional point. If they were gonna take this thing and then move it out of here, right? So you would want to have a lever or a point where you could then push this thing up and get it onto whatever moving apparatus. So perhaps that's what this thing was. You put some scaffolding up in here, you stack more beams into the scaffolding, you're pushing the thing up, ratcheting it up, possibly to upright this thing, and then put it onto whatever. Again, I'm going with the conventional explanation for the movement of these massive megaliths is with wooden apparatus, the physics of levers, etc. So perhaps that would have been the intention of this knob here, is to give them some purchase.
Would you call it knob? That's
Knob. It's a big knob. It's to then upright this thing and then move this side of it. So perhaps this side was originally the bottom. So this was supposed to be the bottom of it, and this whole thing could have been tipped over and sat onto you know, they would say wooden rollers or a sled of some sort. Again, the conventional explanation here is that this thing could have been tipped over and then moved down the hill if they were intending to actually cut this thing out of the bedrock and move it. I don't know about that. Because again, if that thing was just a purchase point or a knob for leverage, I don't think they would cut it into that precise of a triangle. It seems like it was, yeah, very intentional.
And these are totally functional, right?
The two slots on each side, yeah.
Reminds me of those in Egypt.
Yeah, so, and it's, the jury is still out on this thing. So what we were just saying here is that this knob, if it was just to give a purchase point or a point of leverage to tip this thing over, I don't think it would have been cut to this specific shape. It seems very, you know, meticulously carved out to create this shape, which is kind of unnecessary. If you look at the knobs in Egypt, they're very roughly carved and they have no specific shape. And, you know, for a lifting boss, you don't need it to be precisely angled or shaped like a... So I don't know. Again, Bizarre Megaliths of Japan is a suitable title for this series, because they are certainly that, and there is no... Hey Tara, what does this sign over here say? There's no good conventional explanation for what these things are or what they were for. I will say it seems like this side is higher than this side. You can see there's a difference in the height of the slot here. It's higher on this side than this side.
Yeah, because this one for the four, what do you say, four sides, it's bigger than this.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like a pyramid. If you see from this being the bottom.
Okay, so again,
bigger and this is slightly
talking
smaller.
about Masuda Iwafune, perhaps these slots are where they were flattening this thing out, and then they were eventually going to remove this part and remove this part, because we did see some evidence of in-progress stone working at Masuda Iwafune. But it was very irregular. It didn't look like
So
this.
some people think there's a connection between the Masai Iwafune and this one.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Those are
What about for ropes?
So what does that sign down there at the bottom say? Above the frogs?
Do not throw the coins into the
Oh,
pond.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
So yeah. So
Pretty bizarre. And definitely unexplained. So I think we're going to walk around and check out the site a little bit more. That's it for this one. The Ishi no Hoden Megalith. And here you can see the mountainside the mountainside here and the excavation of the stone in this site here. Yeah, so before we leave the site, Tara was reading some of the commentary from the priest of the site. And this is a Shinto shrine.
Well, it is today.
Right, today. Well, so I was just going to give a general explanation that in Shinto shrines, there is typically a sacred object of nature incorporated as the object of reverence at that Shinto shrine, whether it be a sacred tree or the mountain itself or a large megalith. And the priest,
the shrine is old enough.
right, yep. So the priest at this site says that the Ishi no Hoden stone is not the sacred object, but the sacred object is at the core of the stone. So that adds a very deep layer of complexity to the mystery. So when we all heard that, we all pulled out our little magnetometers, and we're doing just some quick analysis of the magnetic field. So here, this is which orientation? North?
North. This is east.
Yeah.
Most.
North, south, east, and west. And when we did the magnetic field analysis at the Stonehenge site, Japanese Stonehenge, we found that there was a increase in the magnetic field in the southern direction on these stones. Same thing at the Astronomical Observatory site, which I'm pretty sure by now you've seen those episodes, so you know what I'm talking about. If not, go back and watch it. Can't see shit. All right, so magnetic field. Magnetic field of about 45 on this side, east side. Approximately 45 here on the north side. And then I tested up near this protrusion here, and there is an increase in the magnetic field here, and it's bouncing between 47, 48. Yeah, 47, 48, 47, 48. And then we'll see here on the south side what the meter says. Kind of bouncing back and forth between 46 and 47. So not a huge change. I can't see that because of the reflection, but it does appear that there's a slight increase in the magnetic field in this area. So maybe let's do it here. Ooh, it likes this even more. This is now going up to 49. Okay, so it seems to like the peak of this stone. I can't get much higher, but the highest, so I was basically testing it moving up this incline here, and it was increasing all the way up to the point of this thing, which is pretty interesting and very unusual, considering that the statement of the priest here is that the sacred object is at the core of this stone. What the hell is on the inside of this thing? It looks like there's a lot of iron oxide. You see kind of the orange red color here in this little excavated quarry. So perhaps there's a core of iron oxide, or maybe even iron metal on the inside of this thing. Should make it a very unusual object. You can see kind of the orange color here. There's some of this orange color here. So the mystery persists with no real conclusive answers right now. We're going to go look at the top to see if we can see any indentations on the top of the stone. And there's comparisons between this stone and the Masuda Iwafune. I was going to say Medusa again, but Masuda Iwafune, not Medusa. Masuda Iwafune, where they think there may be some depressions, like square holes cut into the top of it. So we're going to go back around to the top, see if we can check that out. Let's go. All right, so one more thing before we leave. The Ishi no Hoden, also known as the floating stone. So Teru was reading this Japanese signpost, and it says here that the term floating stone is used by stonemasons to describe a stone that is atop a crack or a fissure. So for example, in the process of excavating this thing, they either discovered a natural crack or a natural fissure, or the stone pedestal upon which this huge megalith was seated cracked. So they use the term quote-unquote floating stone to describe that stone configuration where a stone megalith or the stone that's being excavated is seated on a crack. So it's no longer attached to the pedestal, it's quote floating unquote on top of this crack or fissure. So they may not have set this thing down. The crack or the fissure at the bottom may be either a natural crack in the bedrock and the stone was just kind of, i.e. floating there, or it cracked during the excavation process, leaving that crack all the way through the bottom to where it's no longer physically attached to the bedrock below, but it's floating on top of the bedrock. Either way, we were also discussing that if that stone was intended to be moved, so the stone is over here in the temple, and if it were going to be moved out and put onto rollers or whatever moving apparatus, they would have also created a sloped hillside or a leveled platform where they could move this thing, tilt it over, and then move it out of here. But unfortunately, all of this infrastructure of the shrine now covers up that area of the site on the eastern side of the stone. So whether this stone was intended to be moved off-site is still inconclusive. The function or purpose of the stone also is still a mystery. Very, very unusual. And again, I think the term or nomenclature bizarre megalith is certainly appropriate. The Ishi no Hoden, the floating stone.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was Sunday Site Visit 81, the Ishi no Hoden floating stone. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode in the series, we will continue our investigation. of the bizarre megaliths from ancient Japan, part 3. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned. If you want to help support the channel, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com. Links in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram or on X, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to Let's Go with Lex and G so you don't miss out on the rest of the amazing content from our Japan adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode. So I will see you next time.
Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.